Okay, welcome. I'm not sure how many of you are returning to the webinar, how many of you are new, but regardless, would like to welcome you to this webinar. It's a monthly webinar, it lasts about an hour. It's usually takes place on the second Wednesday of the month, and we have a different topic every month. We repeat some topic based on demand and request, and today we have a new speaker, Troy, that we'll get introduced. Andrew and Mark have partnered for a long time. You'll hear from them on what they do, but it's amazing partnership, not only to help people relocate from the UK, but also to provide information on relocating from anywhere outside of the UK to here. So Mark, I know we have a full agenda today, so I'll have you start about yourself and then introduce Andrew and then introduce Troy.
Okay, thanks Shanti. Thanks everyone for taking your time to come on board this evening. My name's Mark Palmer. I've been in the property business for nearly 35 years. So I started obviously very young. I didn't really. I'm into my mid-50s now. So hopefully I'll get a real job one day. Who knows? So, but as you can see, I started in 1986 selling houses right up until around 2007. So 21 years being an estate agent, first of all. During that time spent being a manager from 3 years in the business. So for the last 18 years, I was in management and got to director level. In 1999, I bought my first house to rent out, which I still own. I don't have a big portfolio, it's just one property, but at least I just know what a landlord's train of thought is like. 2007, I went into the corporate relocation market. So I went from the selling houses side to the renting houses side. So finding houses for people. So everybody I've dealt with in the last 14 years, nearly 15 years now, is internationally coming to England. I rarely deal with any English people. So therefore, I've got to know what's happening with the rental market locally, nationally, internationally, etc., etc. Knowing all the sort of anxieties and stresses and strains for everybody. I've also been a tenant myself since 2011, so I can see what it's like from a landlord and a tenant. I've also run a lettings and property management department of 250 properties for a couple of years. So I've seen it from every single angle you can imagine. So when we are asked to help people to find properties for them, I know what I've got to say to the estate agent, what I've not got to say to the estate agent, when I say it, when I don't say it. There's lots and lots of stuff to sort of go through. There's lots of regulations that I know, excuse me, the estate agents can't go beyond, and I could just push them to that side of the sideline, call it the 16th man in a rugby term, as you were, because I know what they can and can't do. The property market, as you've probably seen, if anybody's seen the local news in England the last few days, I think we're at half the stock levels that we're at. I know certainly Andrew's seen that as well. We've talked about that already in the last few days. Half the stock levels that there were since 2018, 2019, which makes it incredibly difficult to find properties. We just have to be there at the front and making those 20, 30, 40 phone calls a day, because that's what we do. We find houses for people. We're property finders, property concierge experts. That's what we have to do. We're not architects, we're not plumbers, we're not designers, we're not engineers, etc. But this is what we do. So I cover in the south, Andrew covers to the north. We're both very, very easy to speak with, and we can talk to all the agents, and we know a lot of them very, very well. We have to build relationships with them. So that's where our key objectives come from, and I think our key skill sets really is to be able to talk to all different agents, whether they be millennials or older. They're all getting younger and younger, the agents, but we have to deal with everybody. But we just try to help people with the setting up, with the moves, and Troy will go on to this. He's moved over from South Africa himself a few years ago, which he'll tell you more about that himself, so I won't bore you with that now, because it's not boring, it's really good. He's got some great skill sets to go through. So that's me. I now pass you over to Andrew, who will continue. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mark, and yeah, evening to everyone tonight. Excited to obviously co-host with Mark, and excited to hear what Troy's going to say as well, because I know moving's a massive part of everyone's life, and we provide quite a lot of resources, but obviously we don't see the day-to-day kind of life of moving. So don't appreciate, and I'm sure myself and Mark will learn quite a lot from this as well. In returns to my background, I've been investing since 2004, and then working in relocation since 2008. So yeah, kind of close to 20 years as a landlord, and close to 15 years working as a property finder for people in kind of the northwest and Midlands, so Manchester down to Birmingham. I suppose Mark touched on the level of stock at the minute, which has been a challenge since kind of November of last year, even during COVID. So we're trying to work out the best way forward. And for us, I'm reliant a lot more now on off-market stuff. I think Mark's the same. People ask us why, and it's normally because agents, as soon as it hits our portals, they will get 40, 50, 60 calls. If they give it to us a day before or give us a chance a day before, they only need to take one. But we do research all on-market and off-market options through our network developed over that 10, 15 years, or in Mark's case, a lot longer as well. So yeah, that's myself. We're a small team, myself and two others. But rest assured you'll be well looked after in the north, and we do everything we can to make sure we get the right property at the right price for anyone involved. Over to Troy, and excited to hear what's in store.
And for any new members on the webinar, we'll leave this up again at the end of it, but just so you know that here is Mark and Andrew's contact information. Okay, and Mark, do you want to introduce Troy?
Yeah, thank you. So I first met Troy about 4 years ago locally in Berkshire in Wokingham, and got on very well straight away. He was a tenant, and I've since been involved in the last couple of years in some of the networking groups. Really great guy, local family guy, very experienced in lots of things, which I'll tell you about. I'll let him tell you about, because he's got a very good way of speaking to people. But over to you, Troy, and yeah, leave it to you.
Hi guys, and thank you for the intro, Mark. Yeah, I'll have a bit of a chat with everybody today, and hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit of my story as far as basically a little bit around immigrating. I want to apologize for my dogs. Anybody from South Africa will know that South African dogs are trained to bark. My dogs bark at anybody who walks past, my poor neighbors. And a lot of people walk in the UK, so it happens a lot. I'm also going to just share screens, so bear with me 1 second. All right, so I'm hoping you can all see my screen, because I've lost view of everybody. So
hold on, Troy. I don't think it's working. 1 second. You can keep talking. I'll get to the screen in a second. Okay, there you go.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Okay, guys, so a little bit about me and my family. We immigrated December 2017. It was an interesting time. We left South Africa, and we'll go through reasons. I think everybody's got different reasons, be it push or pull, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. Left South Africa at 36, 37 degrees in the middle of summer. Me in my shorts and flip-flops, which is sliders over here. Got off the plane over here, and it was what they refer to as the beast from the east. This one hell of a snowstorm happening. The planes were struggling to land, and it was just, I had no idea, like, what did I just get myself into? So yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of a short story about me, my family, our journey. You can see there, it's myself, my lovely wife, my two gorgeous kids, and my little boys, both of them, Crash and Zorba. They're the ones that you're hearing downstairs. So yeah, it's a little bit of a story about our journey, our hardships, and how I can help you. And at the end, hopefully we can take a few questions if there are any. Let's see if this is working. Okay, it's meant to, there you go. Okay, so for those of you, so I know there's people, there may well be people from all over the world here. I'm from South Africa, moved over to England, like I said, in 2017. And South Africa, as any South African will tell you, we're passionate about it. It'll always be my home, my Africa. I love it for so many different reasons. But there are a lot of us leaving, and there's a lot of people immigrating, migrating around the world, I think quite a lot from South Africa, and people leave their homes for different reasons, pushes and pulls. In my case, it was very much a push. I was ready to leave South Africa to go anywhere, as much as I love the place. I even almost went to Australia for my sins, visa in passport and ready to go. And I still wound up in the UK. Other people come because it's a pull and they've got great job opportunities, travel opportunities, retirement opportunities, and so on and so forth. Why the UK? Well, at first I wasn't sure. You know, we came here, my brother-in-law lived here. I'd been here on holiday a few times. I'd come and watch the World Cup rugby. I knew everything worked here, but I wasn't sure about it. I was very torn. I was ready to go to Australia. My wife wanted nothing to do with Australia, and women always win. So we wound up here. The first thing that anybody who's immigrating or about to immigrate needs to know is that whether it come be to the UK, to Australia, to Singapore, wherever you go, that place did not roll out a red carpet, send you an invite and say everything's going to be easy. It's not. Immigrating is hard. It's probably one of the hardest things anybody will ever have to do. For me, at least, it was extremely difficult. We came here, I was very lonely, left my network of friends, family, business associates behind. I left a career that was really good behind. I developed a construction company where we employed nearly 40 people on a full-time basis. And I walked into a place where all of a sudden my studies and my experience meant less than nothing. I couldn't get a job in my field. Fortunately, I'd also studied marketing, and through learning the ways, I managed to pivot into the industry I'm in now, and I had to restudy. You know, and it wasn't a difficult transition because many years ago, wow, I think going back all the way to the year 2000, I was a stockbroker in South Africa back in the days where you were still at a trading floor. I was actually there on the transition to digital, which was quite challenging. So yeah, there's a bit of a financial background there as well. But I think my strength is that I love people. I really do. I love dealing with people. I love helping people. And coming here knowing nobody was really difficult. And I struggled. So what I realized very quickly was I was struggling because in South Africa, all my success was designed around the network of people I knew. I worked well with people, and I think that's, you know, being lonely was very difficult, at least for me. So I made it my goal, after being here for about a year and struggling, to start developing a network. Yeah, and I did that through a lot of positive reinforcement and whatnot. And I set up a Facebook page. There's a lot of South African Facebook pages, but I found none of them were, you know, sort of controlled. You know, that there were ones where people could advertise. There were ones where people were just asking about immigrating, but there was nowhere where people were actually building a network, where people were making friends and getting to know one another and taking it to the next level. And so, yeah, I mean, when I started South Africans Networking UK, my goal was to get about 200 to 300 people and just to get to know people. And it just spiraled, and I didn't realize what I'd stumbled onto. I mean, it's a lot of work, and I see Mark is in our audience here today, Mark Bowen. He helps me on it now as well, and there's a few other people who help me on it. But it's a big job, and we do it free, and we just try and help fellow South Africans. I'm sure if people are coming from the States or Australia, you'll find similar sites, and if not, start one. It's very rewarding as well. If I jump back a screen, I was talking about positive reinforcement. That's also been a lot of what I've done, is because I know a lot of people immigrating have struggled. So there's been a lot of positive reinforcement. There's daily motivational posts and all sorts of things to sit and help people. And I think that brings me down to my USP and what I do. I'm a people's person, so I may have skill sets, but first and foremost, I'm somebody that people seem to come to when they need something, when they want somebody that they can trust to give them an honest opinion and honest advice. And often people come to me for things that I have no clue about, but that what I would do in that situation is I refer them to people that I know and trust. And that's a little bit about networking. You'll see that, in South Africa, I started with a networking group called BNI, and I brought that over and I joined them over here, and they were great. And I met a lot of British people, and I started developing a British network. But I found very quickly that there were a lot of people in my position, which took me back to, sorry, I don't know why the screen changed. I think I bumped something. It took me back to developing this network. And through everything, I went and I restudied, like I said before, and I started, after working for somebody, actually also a fellow South African, I started up a company, Premier Mortgages and Protection. Now, protection for people coming from abroad is not what you think it is. It's not bodyguards. I know, for coming as a South African, it's life insurance. Whether if you take income protection, it's still life insurance. If you take critical illness cover, it's still life insurance. That's the terminology. Over here, it's protection. So protection is because it's protecting some things. It may be family protection. It may be debt protection against a mortgage or something else. And so I have joined, well, not joined, I started up this company, which is really going strength to strength, and I really find I enjoy what I do. And we touch on to things like right the way through from assisting people when they rent a house. I assist them with their tenants cover, their contents cover. I can help them out with life insurance, critical illness policies, income protectors, whole of life plans if it's deemed necessary. I help them plan, and this is what a lot of mortgage companies don't do. I help them plan for mortgages, even if they don't qualify straight away. So I find a lot of my clients come to me today to buy in 6 months or a year's time. And I don't mind having those calls. And in actual fact, I don't charge people for it. I get moaned at sometimes by people for it, but I don't. And I think, when I got here, I was given really poor advice. And I've taken that to heart, and I really want to give people good, honest advice that can try and guide them. And I think my USP over here is I work really well with foreigners. No matter where they're from, I deal with people who are here from Poland, and it's because I take the time to explain things, and it's not just a transaction. For me, my clients are people. It's not just a transaction. And because of that, you'll see that I started up a separate company alongside Premier Mortgages and Protection, which is ABC Wills, which is where while I'm dealing with somebody's mortgages, helping them find, the right property, putting them in touch with people, I'm networking with them. I can help them as far as their wills, their lasting power of attorneys, and explaining things to them, because things are not always the same in a new country. And there's some bizarre laws in the UK. Just to name one that's very different to South Africa is you come to the UK, you write a will, you meet somebody, you fall in love, you get married. You think you've got a will, but you don't, because marriage nullifies a will. There's bizarre things, and these are things that hopefully I can help you with, and I can guide you through the process, make it simple, and take you through, exactly what I can and can't do. And if I can't help you, I'm readily available to refer you to somebody who I believe can. And occasionally I don't know anybody, and in which case I'll either refer you to the internet or tell you to ask in the group. In our Facebook group, there's nearly 12,000 people. There's a wealth of knowledge there. And I mean, bearing in mind it's Facebook, there's truth, and then there's Facebook truth. So always double check what you see, unless you're talking to, if you're talking about immigration, talk to, there are immigration lawyers on the group. But if there's 100 people telling you 25 different stories, you can well believe that 24 of them at least are wrong. And the one thing experience will lead me to tell people is that no two stories are alike. I guarantee you nobody here who's looking to immigrate has the same story as me. You have your own story, you have your own needs, wants, and passions. But if you want somebody to talk to, even if it's off topic, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. I deal with Mark and Andrew quite a bit, because you know, like I said, I deal with trustworthy partners, and I find them to be trustworthy, and because of that, I often find people who are looking, you know, that they're struggling, they're coming over, they've got 3 pets, they don't have a huge budget, they you know, struggling with a lot of things, and I'll sit and I'll say, you know what, talk to Mark. He's very much like me. He'll have a conversation with you, and worst case scenario, you're going to come out of that conversation educated. Best case scenario, you're going to have a partner who's going to help you and guide you through the process and get things to work, much like I would as far as my things go, as far as my fields of expertise go. Yeah, I'm not going to go on too much about everything. I'll try and keep it short and sweet, because I know there may well be a few questions, and I know that there's an 8 o'clock cutoff. But yeah, just to recap, if you need any assistance as far as immigration goes, I'm not an immigration specialist, but I do know people. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. If you're new to the UK and you just want to talk or meet up and have a beer, always happy to do so. I've been through it. It's not easy. Happy to have a beer with anybody. If you don't drink, I'll have a coffee. No problem there. Yeah, and then as far as networking goes, my group is open to all South Africans who are busy immigrating already, have immigrated. We do have another group that I've sort of started getting off the ground, which is for people immigrating, irrespective of where. I think there's only about, actually I'll be lying if I say how many people. I think there's only about 80 or 90 people on it. But yeah, it'll go strength to strength. And yeah, you know, the idea is to have somewhere safe for people when you arrive, and you have people that you can talk to. And then if you need help with planning or applying for a mortgage, life insurance, a will, a lasting power of attorney, any of the above, even your tenants insurance or house and contents insurance, give me a shout. You'll find that I take the time to explain things. Like I said, you'll leave more knowledgeable. Whether or not you use me, it's always going to be obligation free. And that's me in a nutshell. Shanti, I'm going to pass back over to you. Oh, well, Nanny, sorry, forgot there's one more slide. So just in closing, I am and always will be proud to be South African, but I'm also soon to be British. I'm nearly here 5 years, and in December I can get my settled status, and then I start the process of assimilating. And I'd say that I'm although I struggled in the beginning, I've happily immigrated and I have assimilated. I like it, and I think that's what's really, really important. And I'm happy to take any questions. Back to you, Shanti. You may have to share your screen again, though.
Yeah, I think at this point we'll just wait for questions. And while we're waiting for questions, for those of you who are new on here, we do have recordings of the previous webinars that we've hosted on pets. We had 2 webinars on pets, relocating with pets, relocating companies, schools, immigration. And on immigration, we touched a little bit about jobs there.
Logistics,
so if
household moves,
household goods.
Yeah. So I think that if you're new to this, if you are Troy, there's a comment in there for you if you want to take a look at it. The recordings are very helpful, and again, it's free information. It's one of the purpose of this is just to create, like Troy used the word networking, is to create a network of resources. We all can help each other, and it's not a money-driven objective at all. Some things do cost money, but the premises of these webinars is to inform, educate, and create a network of people as resources. I myself migrated in a pandemic from across the pond, didn't know anyone, and I had to build my family and friends here, so it is quite a task, and it's good to know that there's somebody you could reach out to and ask questions. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I see there's two questions. I'll start with Kathy.
Okay.
Kathy, you were saying, where am I based? I'm based in Wokingham. It's a small to medium-sized town, sort of between Reading and Bracknell. Lovely area, great for kids, great for families. But I do work nationally, so I work. You know, if I can't see somebody face to face, I'm happy to work on Zoom. If somebody's vulnerable and I need to see them face to face and they're far away, we'll either make a plan to arrange it, or alternatively, I'll refer that. I'll look within my network, because I work within a large network. I'll look within the network and find somebody local to them to refer them over to. Mark, you were asking me, you hear a lot about the time you need to be in the UK before you can get a mortgage. What are the actual parameters to consider for this, and what can be done to fast track the process? Well, truth is that there's no such thing as fast tracking. The bottom line is that no matter what you hear, there's no two stories that are the same. I have dealt with foreigners arriving in the UK, and I've gotten them a mortgage within 3 weeks of landing here. But their situation is vastly different to another person who needs to be here 3 years. So the bottom line is that there's no easy answer. You really need to talk to a mortgage advisor, be it myself or somebody in a similar situation to me, and preferably somebody who deals with foreigners, because you'll find that a lot of mortgage advisors will nod and say yes, but they don't actually know the answers. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. You know, your passport status, your visa status, your residency, what you do for a living can sometimes come into it. There are a lot of parameters that can sort of be ticked off and crossed off. Sometimes somebody's coming to the UK from, let's say, from Singapore, but they've got a British passport. They're going to be treated very differently to somebody who's coming from the same place, but is on a tier 2 visa or a student visa for that matter. You know, everybody's going to have a different situation and a different story. And the bottom line is that the advice needs to be bespoke to that person's story. It's not going to be standard. I hope that answers the question sufficiently. And I'm happy to engage if you want. I'll put my phone number up in the chat as well. I'll use the +44.
Right, just touching on that, I've had 3 families in the last month. I think all with conflicting information, because obviously they tend to rent on arrival, but they tend to rent for 6 months with a view to being able to buy somewhere, and then others have had rent for a couple of years. My view was it would be 2 to 3 years before being able to get approval for a decent mortgage. Is that right? That's something I never know the answer to.
Well, yeah, it comes back down to it that there really isn't a simple answer.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been here now nearly 5 years. I'm only buying a house now.
Yeah.
That's because of the route I came. I changed careers. I went self-employed, and then after studying, after having jobs before, then went self. So that sort of delayed my process a lot. And so I've had to show that I've got X amount of years trading so that I can get a mortgage, and different lenders. I'm not sure if you deal with people coming from South Africa or the States. I'd imagine the States there's going to be hundreds of lenders like here. In South Africa, there's only a handful.
Yeah.
So that'd be really flabbergasted if that is sitting and see my screens where I'm sitting and I'm looking at 120 lenders with 5 products each. Yeah. So I can literally have 500-600 products in front of me talking to them for a mortgage. And I can almost guarantee you that those products are all different from each other. There's no way that HSBC, for example, will have 6 different products available. It doesn't suit them to have that. It confuses their situation. Each one of those products are different. And then you've got the various differences from Halifax, HSBC, guys like Marsden, Beverly Building Society. I mean, you'll get guys that people have never heard of. Yeah. And they sort of come out of the woodworks where, other people don't, you don't realize, and everybody's got a USP, and they all go through the same criteria to be able to lend. So although you've got high street lenders and you've got other lenders that are maybe seen differently because they don't have a high street presence, it doesn't mean that they need a lesser qualification to be able to lend. They don't. They just have a different USP.
So there is a very complex question in the chat, and it has 4 parts to it. But the one part I want to respond to is it's from Peckley family. The cost of bringing over 2 medium-sized dogs. I recommend that you either take a listen to the webinar on pets or reach out to Mark, and he will provide you a contact for the Sky Pets, was our amazing presenter that we had. In terms of solicitor and the other pieces there, Troy, I think if you want to take a shot at that.
Yeah, Ken, I was just reading all the questions. So I see Jason's asking, do you feel the property market bubble is about to burst?
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, Jason, that's
You'd be a
the
millionaire if you
$1
do
million
that,
question. That's definitely the £1 million
Multi.
question. I'm busy buying now at the height of everything. Historically speaking, I don't think that the British markets have ever gone backwards, and if they have, they haven't gone much backwards. So property houses tend to increase. That said, will it increase at the same rate? My personal opinion, but it's just an opinion. I doubt it, but I think it is. I was wrong with COVID. I stopped the process of buying a house in the beginning of COVID to think, oh, well, look what's going on in the world. Prices are going to go down. So, it's a bit speculative in any answer you can actually give there. But I think if you feel you're ready to buy and you can afford it, buy. I don't think I'd let the markets control you, because there's going to be upswings and downswings, as I'd say, from now till forever. And historically speaking, the UK market you're always going to win in property long term. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. But obviously make sure you have the affordability. Was there a second part?
Sorry, Troy, can I just jump into that part again as well, just from, I've been doing it a couple of years now, and it's a great question, Jason, as well, definitely. And I think the market's going to correct itself. I think we had a mad buy panic last year with the stamp duty deadline, which was saving a lot of people money or costing a lot of people money as well. We had a massive surge, and it's definitely corrected itself. But I say the same thing to everybody in the last 35 years. When anybody says to me, when is the best time to buy? I mean, no one in the world knows this, obviously, but the best time to buy is whenever you are ready. It's as simple as that. And bricks and mortar over here is very, very secure. We're not going to get the double-digit rises like we did in the past, not at all, I don't think. But if you're happy to buy, buying's cheaper than renting, but obviously renting initially gets you a soft landing, helps you into buying the market. And Troy, I was going to go into, again, I've had a couple of people before in the past and this year for sure saying they do want to try and buy a house but rent first. What would you say is the sort of the good steps for them to help them from a digital footprint?
So
how would you help them?
I will come to that. I just want to say we have, okay, so you're asking about first time mortgage seekers. Will that have an impact on it? If you're a first-time buyer in the UK, you're looked after. There's help to buy schemes. There's shared ownership. There are different ways to get onto the property ladder. That could really be a 2-hour conversation just on its own, Jason. So I mean, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about it. But there are schemes in place to help first-time buyers, as long as you qualify for those schemes, and as long as you understand them. And then coming over to Mark's question about the digital footprint. So the UK, and I'm not sure where everybody's coming from, be it China or wherever, but the UK is one of these nations where you dot your I's, cross your T's, and everything works. And in order to tick all the little boxes, I'm not a credit specialist by any means, but my experience has shown me a few tricks that you can do to help speed up the process. So in order to build good credit, number one, and the most important, is register on the voters roll. Now, everybody tells me, oh my word, but I'm not English, I'm not British, I don't have a passport. Well, you register on the local elections, you're still allowed to vote in the local elections. That voters roll is one of the places that they will check your address on everything. Your address is key. So if you buy a car, it gets registered to your address. When you move, you need to make sure you move that driver's license. Not moving it gives you a red mark. Moving it gives you a little green tick. You want all the little green ticks. When you can, get a credit card. You may not be able to get one on the day you arrive, but when you're working for a while and you can get a credit card, it's a good thing to have. Don't abuse it. There's a couple of things I always say is, number one, when you apply for a credit card, there's a little tick box that says always debit the minimum amount. It's worth ticking that, because at least, you know, if you've forgotten to pay it, it gets paid. You don't want to miss payments. That's a big, big red mark. So keep all your payments made, keep them made on time. A late payment is a red mark. So you can't turn around and say, oh, but I only paid a day late. It's a red mark. Things like insurance. So if you come to me and we do tenants insurance, instead of doing an annual policy, which is marginally cheaper, sometimes I'd encourage somebody to do a monthly policy, which is a credit agreement for that year, but it helps you build your credit. So it's a viable way to do it, as long as you understand that it is a credit agreement. Other things are, when you get off the plane, you're probably not going to qualify for a mobile contract and get the best handset, but you probably will qualify for a SIM-only contract. And that contract is going to give you a tick every single month. As we're building these ticks, we're building our credit profile. That credit profile is going to stay with you for a long, long time. It's really well worth doing. I've probably missed out a few things, but there are sites that you can subscribe to and they'll give you tips. Like I said, I'm not a specialist. These are just some of the things that I've picked up as we go. And that's going to help you develop a digital footprint in the UK, which is key to building your credit. And good credit means more lendable. You know, bad credit means this will stay away. So it's definitely worth building.
Troy, on Peckley family question, I think it's back up a few, I think. It says, I'm moving in February 2023 to East Yorkshire. I'll be getting married within the 6 months time frame. I'm hoping to get a recommended for solicitor. What is the cost of, well, the 2 dogs we will forward. I forwarded that info to her.
Yeah.
Can keep my house, and will I be able to will that home / put him on my will in the US or the UK?
Yeah, I'm just reading this. I'm moving February, but you know, 2 games as those can keep my house, and I'll be able to. Can I ask? Is it possible to ask the Peckley family to come off mute and explain it to me exactly what they're asking?
Yeah, they can.
Hi.
There she is.
Sorry. I'm wondering how it works, because I have a home here that's almost paid off and I don't want to sell it. So I'm wondering if I can add someone that's not a citizen here to that. Oh, I will. Sorry. Thank you. That I can add someone who's not a citizen in the United States, particularly in the UK, to that title. Are they allowed to own things here?
Are you talking about your will? So you could leave that?
Yes.
Yeah. The person you leave it to doesn't have to be a British citizen at all. You can leave it to somebody who's living in China, as long as they're traceable.
Okay.
And you've got all the details. So yes, you can live here and leave that house to somebody there. But, and there's a big but here, and this is something that you didn't ask. You've got an estate in the States and you've got an estate here. What I would advise somebody in your situation to do is to have two wills, and make them work together.
Okay.
So you have one local to the States to control your assets in the States. And
Yes.
if you're living full-time in the UK, then have one in the UK for the rest. But
Okay.
the reason I would suggest that is because then your probate will be tied up in the States, and that won't delay probate here, and vice versa. So instead of having the two sets of solicitors and courts trying to talk to each other, which
Mhm.
can be quite cumbersome, they can operate individually. And then
Okay, and
the only issue you've got is the double taxation, in which case your double taxation laws will take over and take precedence.
of course. And the reason I ask is because I was in the military and I already had my previous spouse passed away, so that's a concern of mine.
I'm sorry to hear
And
about them, but yes.
thank you. And so I also need to recommend for a solicitor, because the one that I contacted through a previous Facebook page has not returned our inquiries. Yeah, she hasn't answered us yet.
Well, I'm happy to help you out with the will if you want. My number is.
Well, I need help with immigration as well, as we're trying to pick the right. We're trying to pick the right option.
Okay. Do you want to grab my? I'll share my screen quickly because there's no screen
Yes.
share. And you can grab my email address. Send me an email. Just mention that you want an immigration attorney, and what I'll do is I'll respond and I'll refer you to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Move that out the way. You should have it in front of you now. Sorry, all my screens are
Good,
new.
thank you.
So yeah,
Great.
I mean, if you email me, I definitely know a few immigration attorneys. I can get a referral over to you with the greatest of pleasure. My pleasure. Cool. Shanti, is there anybody else? Sorry, I don't know. If I start reading, I'm going to go quiet.
I don't think so, but I'm just checking to see if we missed anyone.
No, thanks, Troy. Stephanie, when I email you the details for the pet relocation one as well, then I'll come back to you with I'll copy Troy's details in again as well, just in case. But thanks for joining us, because you're way over in Texas, aren't you? So we have people from, I think, Australia, Texas, America, South Africa. We have a real international flavor tonight.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's really good.
Troy, there was a quick one off Jason about capital gains tax. I don't know if you covered that or. If you buy a property in the UK and you sell a property in SA, would you be eligible for capital gains tax in the UK?
Didn't hear that. What was that for me? Sorry, I had my daughter shouting at me in the background.
Well, from Jason, just
That's
asking
Jason.
about buying a property in the UK and selling a property in SA. Would you be liable for capital gains tax in the UK?
Jason, okay, I'm not a tax specialist, but logic, I think, would dictate if you sell a property in South Africa, it's subject to capital gains in South Africa. If you sell a property in the UK and it makes a profit, you will be subject to capital gains in the UK. Absolutely.
It's unless it's your primary residence, isn't it? I think for the UK.
Well, even if it's not your primary residence, I think if it's your primary residence, there's a little bit of it. But like I said, I'm not a tax specialist really, so that's something that I would really Google. But I would imagine I'd be prepared to pay capital gains. I think there are thresholds that you'll have. In South Africa, you definitely have capital gains. I think there's also thresholds. I'm not sure what it is. Last time I checked was many years ago. It was like 200,000 Rand, which pound terms is 10,000 pounds profit, and then you start paying tax. Over here, it'll be a bit higher, I'm sure, if there is one. But yeah, it's that if you're moving property for a profit, it's going to be seen as a taxable thing.
Troy, is there an accountant in your network group, your BNI group, that could probably help Jason with that answer?
Absolutely. There's actually a few. So
Okay.
Jason, again, if you want to get hold of me, I'll be more than happy to send you some details and make an intro.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Sorry, I'm going to move it off that screen because otherwise nobody can see me. Mark, can I pass back to you? Is there any other questions for me based on property, life insurance, insurances, networking?
I think there's a great question. I think Jason's really making us work for our money tonight. Some really good questions in my catch trying to get involved as well, as she always does when she hears me on a Zoom call. So
one just came in from Fiona.
yeah.
If it's your primary residence.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the UK, that is. If it's your primary residence, there's no tax.
Yeah. It's just
Personal.
only for a
It's
capital,
second
an
home
extra
or-
gain. Yeah,
or an investment
that's
to a company, it's taxed quite heavily.
There you go. I don't buy and sell property.
Yeah.
So yeah, I simply refer people to a good accountant. I stick to what I'm good at.
No, that's fair enough. No, thank you, Troy. I appreciate that. And I think
No
like
problem.
myself and Andrew and yourself, we all talk to people all the time. I can't believe this is our 8th webinar now. It's amazing. So it's gone so quick, and we help people. We talk to people for free all the time, and it's great just to talk to people. We see people on here every month, the same people. We have different people, and if people want to take it further, then we can speak to them on a one-to-one level. But we're happy to talk to anybody and everybody, because people move at different times, and we all have a different journey, different story. So more than happy to do that.
I also included, Mark, the link to the videos of the previous webinars, so people can scan through it and then reach out if they need more specific advice or guidance. It's good.
Brilliant.
But you can't join Troy's Facebook group if you're not from South Africa. See, I can't join it because I'm from Colorado, from America.
As long as I know about it, we'll let you in. But the most important thing that I wanted to say that I haven't said, which is where I was actually meant to start off, and I got sidetracked, was to say thank you to Mark, Shanti, and Andrew just for having me today. And if anybody's looking for somebody, they come very, very highly recommended.
Well, I think one of the common thread here is the networking. I think once we have, access to people we trust, when we pass on a referral, we don't have to think about the quality of service or care that person will get once we refer them. And I think that that's where networking and this webinar and this group is going, is to be able to say, I know someone who can help you. You know that you're in good hands once you pass that person on. So yeah, it's great.
And I think, sorry, Shanti, I was going to say, if there's any other, we've tried to cover all the different aspects of people moving that we think we'll try to need to, for moving with pets, wills, etc., the whole thing, the household goods, etc. If there's anything else that you'd like us to maybe focus on next time around for webinar, always happy to try and help. We have others in the pipeline already, but just nice to hear if anybody's got something they want to move. We've had senior SAFAs from South Africans coming over that wanted to speak with all sorts of people, and we deal with people from all over the world. So happy to talk to anybody and everything.
Otherwise, we'll just have a cooking class one night to cook different recipes.
That could be very short on my side, but maybe, yeah.
Jason, does Troy have your contact information?
There's a bit of Afrikaans being spoken now, I think. So
Yeah,
leave these guys on the breakout room, I think.
I just said it's a pleasure, and he must have a good evening.
Okay.